Hey, podcast listeners, happy holidays to all of you listening, all of our great listeners out there. And hey, guys, if you want to give back to the podcast this holiday season, you can do it over at aapodcast.com/join or over at Patreon. I don't come on here every week and give this little spiel because, just for shits. The podcast really does depend on your support and will not exist without it. So, just if you feel it in your heart to be a little giving this holiday season, aapodcast.com/join or Patreon is where you go. And, we do record 8 extra podcasts for you every month just for you. So no one else, just for you and the people that give to the podcast. So if you want to make it happen, make that happen. We love you very much regardless. And now time to start the show.
Get ready! You're about to listen to the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast. Make your anime addiction worse at aapodcast.com. And now, here are your anime addicts.
Whoa, everybody, welcome into the podcast. Episode is 606. Pick up sticks.
Whoa, bruh.
Of the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast.
Wild.
We're dedicated to making your anime addiction worse. This week, and every damned week that we do this, which is, wait, let me check, every week. We're always here for you. And if you want to watch us live, you can do it over at twitch.tv/AAA podcast. Sundays at 5 p.m. Eastern. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on TikTok. Very noteworthy. We're on TikTok. And if you want to get in on
nearing
all...
100 followers.
You're giving away $100?
Be that 100th.
Oh, followers. Yes.
Yes.
Get over there on TikTok and make Caroline happy. And if you want to be in the action of the podcast, if you want to be a contributor to the content itself, help things function, you can head over to our Discord where you can hang out with 2,100 other anime addicts that are, causing havoc. And, of course, I'm your host, Mitsugi, today, and I am joined by two lovely people. They are beautiful. They're good people. They're anime addicts. They're here all the time for you. It's Mason. It's Caroline. How are you guys doing?
Oh, so well. Pressing X in the chat to doubt the prettiness right now. It's been a rough weekend because it's so warm out. Why is it so warm? It's middle of December officially now, and it's like 50 degrees out. Wild.
Yeah, it was quite warm yesterday, but it was just so rainy and gross outside, so it pretty much canceled out.
We've had some...
Yeah, I think we're all a little sick right now, right? A little colds, a little sniffles, a little coughs.
I'm coughing.
Could be better overall.
I'm coughing a bit. I've got hot coffee here today. I drank my Monster earlier, and I put tequila in it, which is probably not a great idea. But I got my hot coffee here. I got Colombian Supremo, freshly ground Daz Bog, bringing the bourgeois. So we're enjoying that. And yeah, Denver's weird. I mean, it was like Denver. You'll get 5 feet of snow like one day, and then the next day it's totally gone and it's 75. That's Denver. So I don't know. It's warm today. It's 60 something. So the stories of Denver's frigid climate are largely overblown. It really isn't that cold in Denver. It does snow a lot. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast, wherever you are. We love that you're here with us. Honestly, do you think we'd be here every week if we didn't love doing this for you? We really do. That's why we're here. And today we have a lot of cool shit for you. We have a very steamy big news of the week, so we'll get to that in a second. We also have what have we been watching, so we're going to learn about exactly how much slackery Mitsugi has been engaging in while Mason and Caroline just blow him apart with the sheer quantity.
I would not make that assumption. I think I am the dead horse this week.
I don't think so. We also have some pretty cool Unexplored Pictures to go through. We got some mailbags to go through, a whole bunch of stuff, and of course a review of Vanitas no Cart. So that is pretty exciting because that was one of the listener choice picks from summer of 2021. So we'll see how y'all did.
Oh my god, it was so good. I can barely wait to talk about this show.
She can't even contain her excitement.
Oh my god.
Anything else, guys, before we get to the big news of the week?
Nah,
I think that's it.
let's get to it.
It's time for big news of the week.
All right, well, it's not that shocking, but Netflix has canceled the live-action Cowboy Bebop after one season.
That was quick.
Yeah, they pulled the
So
plug
much
on that
work
shit.
went into this.
Yeah, it was probably a bad sign when John Cho blew out his ACL merely trying to imitate Spike. Anyway, yeah, there's going to be a lot of shit talking on Bebop today, I think. Only a 46% positive critics rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and fans gave it a 56, which I thought was pretty generous. And according to Netflix's top 100 site, this is actually pretty impressive. This just goes to show you how powerful Netflix is. Netflix is now telling you Cowboy Bebop is a failed live action. They're canceling it. They canceled it. It's been out let me check, not even a month, and it's canceled.
Which is weird because Netflix usually gives at least breathing time before they cancel a series, not a month after. That's crazy fast for them.
So ostensibly it's a big failure, but still had 74 million viewing hours worldwide, which I feel like is a lot, but maybe it's not. I mean, that just goes to show you how powerful Netflix is. They're like, 74 million viewing hours, failure. I'm like, God damn, it's crazy. So it got a lot of sampling out of the gate, but I guess the viewership number fell 60% between week 1 and week 2, which was, I don't know the stats, but according to Netflix, that's pretty bad. I don't know. I'm honestly happy it got canceled. After watching the whole thing, I didn't even want to have the second. I didn't even want to know what they were going to do with the second half of this. So how do you guys feel?
I mean, I feel like they dug their grave when they introduced Ed. Although this kind of reminds me, did you guys see the live action movie of Avatar: The Last Airbender?
No.
No, I don't make mistakes.
Oh my God.
Well, I saw it when I was, a kid, and I had hope. I don't have hope anymore in my life. But in that movie, at the very end, they tease the appearance of Azula, who enters the show in book 2. And so they're like, oh, they're already setting it up for a second movie, but canceled. And I thought that was the same exact thing that happened here. They're like, oh, here's Ed setting it up for a second season. Canceled.
I think it's even worse because with that, you're saying, they were setting up the second season with a character that we know, and we're like, okay, they're getting ready for the next arc. In this Netflix adaptation, they explicitly made changes to the story so that they could have a second season. Like, the whole point is we're upset because they made these changes for apparently no payoff, and we're like, why did they do that? They're obviously doing it for more to have stuff, but then to now not ever get that, it makes retroactively that decision even worse because they butchered the source material relying on the second season, and now it just seems like they did it for no good reason, which is just even more infuriating.
Bebop's going to go down in the annals of other just horrendous adaptations. It'll go down with Avatar, Death Note.
I don't think it's that bad. I don't think it's that bad.
Dragon Ball Evolution, and others. I mean,
there was obvious quality in some of the production of this show, at the very least. So I think, even though we're not huge fans of it, I think people will talk about it again, maybe in a few years. Like, oh, see, it wasn't that bad, and then we'll try to get like a cult following or whatever.
Well, the reason why this is such an offensive thing for people is because they totally just disrespected Bebop completely and decided that the story sucked originally and rewrote it. I mean, at least
maybe they had some good ideas. I wanted to see what they would do when they made it their own, but now we'll never see that.
No.
So.
No. Yeah. So, honestly, I was so excited that this got canceled. I thought I'd sing about it.
Oh God.
I know that I can't watch no more. I might just die. But now you're just a canceled show. Bye 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 bye. The cast and crew are fucking through. It would have been better as a ship or two. The fans all hate you, so it ain't no life. Fearless, bye bye bye. All right. Moving on from that.
Stunned.
The woman was too stunned to speak.
All right. So
Wow.
now that I
It's like when
haven't,
you
That
talk
was
to a
surprising.
character in the RPG and it just ... Like, she's still processing. Like, what did?
You know what? I think
know
we
I
need to
heard it, but I don't.
I think we'll need to continue this episode next week. I think I'm done for this week.
We're not going to top it. Everyone, thank you for supporting. Drop $1 if you love the content, and I'll see you in episode 607.
I
Oh,
take
do you
one.
think we can make my face into a sticker for Discord?
Oh, we definitely can.
I take ones, 5s, and 10s in my G-string. Please, no large bills. They're hard to break. Next up, we have the big news with Caroline.
Okay, great. Okay, so speaking of Cowboy Bebop and less comedic news, unfortunately, the writer for Cowboy Bebop, as well as Tokyo Godfathers, as well as so many other things, Keiko Nobumoto, she passed away on December 1st after a battle with esophageal cancer. I think that's how you pronounce it. So she was the writer for Cowboy Bebop, Tokyo Godfathers, Macross Plus, Carol and Tuesday, Samurai Champloo, and Space Dandy, as well as the original creator of Wolf's Rain and its manga adaptation. So she was very prevalent in the anime community. So the last thing that she worked on, episode 15 of Carol and Tuesday, and she had returned to her hometown in Hokkaido earlier this year and checked into a hospital. So I think she probably knew for a while that, you know, she wasn't really going to have much more time left here. So that's very upsetting for a lot of the fans of these really great shows. And she was so young too, 57 years old.
Yeah, that hurts.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, you know, I said in the I made a bad joke on the Discord, you know, but I couldn't help but wonder if she just couldn't keep it together after watching what they did to her story with Bebop. So no, it is sad.
I kind of expected those kind of jokes, to be honest.
It's sad, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm sure she didn't love it. So, but no, it is sad. But you know, what great work that Keiko did. I mean, Bebop is a great show. This is not a coincidence, okay? Bebop is great. Tokyo Godfathers is great. Macross Plus is great. Carol and Tuesday, I didn't like it much.
Well, she
but
did
some
some
people did.
episodes. She didn't do all the episodes.
You know, Wolf's Rain is great. So, you know, there's a lot of good stuff here. So, but 57 is young, though. I mean, you're talking about a country where women live to be 90 routinely, you know, 90, 100. Yeah. It's just not good news for Bebop. Like, just in general this week, it's just bad news.
The Bebop community is just in tears this week.
Bebop's taking a big hit here, so, I mean...
Yeah.
God, there's big news coming down the slate. So, all right. Anything you want to say, Mason? Anything else?
Nah, we can get to the hot new anime releases.
It's time for hot new anime releases.
I threw this in here because we haven't done this segment in quite a while, and I figure why the fuck not? Because Yowamushi Pedal is getting a 5th season. Is anybody surprised about this? Season 4.
Only
I've never
surprised
never
that I
watched it.
forgot season 4 was a thing. And I'm like, oh, they're already on 5. Last I heard they were on 3. But yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not too surprised.
Season 4 of Yowamushi Pedal was not that good, honestly. It came out quite a while ago too. Let's see, when did it come out? 2018. It's been 3 years, really, pretty much. And this isn't going to come out until the fall of 2022, so it'd really be 4 years. But anyway, the fifth season was announced, subtitled Limit Break. So apparently we're like fusing with Final Fantasy VII here. It's going to premiere on the NHKG in October 2022. It's going to be done by TMS Entertainment, which has recently done Dr. Stone, and they are going to be reprising the roles of Onoda and Manami, which are probably the two main characters of the show. The voice actors are coming back. So, I mean, I don't know. It's a big manga. It's got 25 million copies in print. And so, I mean, it must be long, too, because 5 seasons is a lot. So,
I mean,
anybody...
it's still coming out. I don't know how many volumes it's been, but it's been around since, what, mid-2000s? So, yeah, good for it. It lost me back in season 3, but... are you gonna watch it, Mitz?
I will watch it. I don't think it will be
there we
good,
go.
but I will watch it. Also, Wit Studio is producing a new original movie called Bubble. That's going to come out in the spring of 2022.
I heard about this. It sounds like they brought out pretty much all the big guns for production.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, banger
Yeah.
alerts.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, there's director Tetsuro Araki, who did Attack on Titan. Also, Cabaneri of the Iron Fortress. And then you got the scriptwriter for Psycho Pass and Madoka Magica. You got Hiroyuki Sawano.
Respect the name.
Sorry.
The Earl Butcher himself.
Again,
Hiroyuki
Urobuchi is the scriptwriter. And then you got Hiroyuki Sawano for music. And everybody knows that person, so.
Yeah, Hiroyuki Sawano is going to be... His music is fucking awesome. So, set in Tokyo, after bubbles broke the laws of gravity and rained down upon the world. Cut off from the outside world, Tokyo has become a playground for groups of young people who have lost their families, acting as a battlefield for parkour team battles as they leap from building to building. Hibiki is a young ace known for his dangerous playstyle, makes a reckless move one day and plummets into the gravity-bending sea. His life is saved by Uta, which means song, which is very, a girl with mysterious powers. The pair then hear a unique sound, audible only to them. Okay, well. Yep, it will be, hopefully it'll be good. Coming out of Netflix on 28th of April. So
That's
you'll be able
awesome. It's going to be on Netflix.
Yeah, so you'll be able to see this in Japanese theaters after that by around 2 weeks, coming out on May 13th. So it's good stuff.
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
I'm more excited for Mishi Pedal, honestly, but I'm just a hopeless dreamer. I'm like,
I'm so excited for it. It's probably going to be bad.
It will be. It will be bad. They jumped the shark so many times. They're at the point in like Shonen Land of Mishi Pedal where like characters are transforming and all this, and it started off as like just this casual like down to earth biking competition, and now they're like turning into like monsters and insects and shit while they race, and it's just it jumped the shark, but that's okay. All right. Cool stuff. What have we been watching? Main topic for the show. We watch anime independently. Every month, every week when we can, outside of the podcasts. That's usually a pretty big stretch for me generally. But this is where we basically unload upon what we've been watching as extracurriculars that we can talk to you about. And this plays really like a recommendation list for you. If you hear us talk about something and you think it sounds interesting, then write it down and check it out. So I'm going to start with Mason because he's got the biggest list here, and I want to give him a chance to get through most of his. Yeah.
So obviously the biggest thing that came out was JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 6, Part 1. I don't know. That's not what they call it, but it's what I call it because the first 12 episodes, the batch that makes up what I'm guessing is the first third of Stone Ocean, has come out on Netflix, and I watched it, and surprise, it's more JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It looks the same because David Production just has their way of animating it, and it is the way that it is, so it's stiff, it's beautiful, it's wonky, it's gorgeous, it's kind of what you've come to expect. If you've seen Part 5 and you're like, I kind of have my feelings on it. Is Part 6 any different? No, not really. It's just more of the same. I think it got better in the later parts of this arc, so more promising. It's got more momentum going into whatever will come of it, but it definitely starts kind of just so. I know Mitz is kind of working through JoJo to prepare for this, so I don't want to give too many spoilers, but Jolene is amazing. She is awesome, and she is alone enough to worth watching it for.
So I'm way back on Part 4, which is like Pleasantville fucking Josuke, I guess.
Yep.
Where everything's yellow. I have this concern that by the time I get through the 100 episodes I'm behind, Part 6 will be long gone and nobody will care. I mean, do I really need to watch Part 4 and 5 to watch Part 6?
No.
So I can...
5 is probably the most isolated of all the JoJo's. So 5 is a complete standalone. So honestly, if you're like mostly through 4, I would probably recommend finishing that and then jump to 6 if you want to be part of the conversation. Especially because I don't know when the next installments of Part 6 will come out. It's probably going to be a month, 2 months maybe. So you've got time to finish 4 and then jump to 6.
I'm about 14 episodes into part 4, so
Okay.
I mean that's not
Yeah,
that
just
far.
chip away at it.
Yeah.
And it's very like more slice of life and episodic, so you can take it arc by arc and just chip away when you can.
Got it.
But the
Okay.
ending to part 4 is fantastic. The final like boss fight and the interplay there is really what you're watching it for. So
Yeah, I know Pancake's all up in my ass about it. She's because she loves JoJo and she's seen it. And she's like, I want to watch part 6, and I'm like, she wants to watch it with me, and I'm like, well, sorry, I'm really fucking behind.
You could jump into 6 now. Like nothing says you can't watch JoJo simultaneously.
I guess so.
So really, like there is one character that shows up and you already know who it is, and like you don't need to be introduced to them. So you could start with 6. Anyone could start with 6. I don't know if I'd recommend it, but like, yeah, they explain what a stand is. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. The other issue is that I actually like JoJo before the stands were introduced. So
There was JoJo before stands.
yeah.
Yeah, the first 2 parts.
I mean, I haven't seen
Yeah.
any JoJo.
I
just
can-
assume that it's all about stands.
I mean, it grows to eventually be that way,
Yeah.
but yeah, the first 2 parts use a different system called Haman, whatever.
Hamon.
whatever.
Yeah, I like the Pillar Men a lot, so I miss them. But okay.
You just like their theme music because it's so good. Oh my goodness!
I
I
just like
never
their-
don't talk about their music every time we talk about it.
I just like their thong-eating man booties. They are beefy little
Yeah, Mitch
beefy little guys in these fucking thongs. It cracks me
was
up.
like the show when everyone was thick. Now they're a bunch of pretty boy model Gucci wannabes.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't hit the same way.
Yeah, it's true. JoJo was like, "Ooh, look at me! I'm fucking just jacked beyond belief. I'm like playing like rugby or whatever, and I am a fucking beast." And now I didn't even think about that actually. I wasn't thinking that, but now I am. And now they're just like these shriveled down little kids who fucking have their stands do everything for them.
It's okay. A lot of the guys in this part 6 wear
Kids these days
like
do their
jock straps.
stands.
looking like cup guard materials for their underwear. Not underwear. They have like pelvic accessories that are questionable because I don't know
chastity belt?
fashion. Sort of, yeah. Yeah, that's just like the fashion that he was into at the time. So a bunch of the guys have like these very bulge protecting units on their hips. But besides that, part 6 is cool, and they do have some very neat shots during the second half of it. So I'm excited for more. Jolene, part 6 has one of my favorite JoJo poses in the entire series.
wow.
We haven't got there yet.
Can you do that pose?
You're in it for the pose.
I'm
Just
in
for
it for
this
the
pose.
pose.
How
The
good can this
pose
pose
where-
be that you're watching a whole show
It's
for?
literally, I'm
Blue
not going to
steel?
spoil the pose, but she like essentially points to the star on her back, like emblematic of the JoJo family tree, and it's just like, deal with it. I'm a Jo star, and it's just like, yeah, like straight up pointing to the fact that my family's history has like just f shit up for the longest time, and we know how to run this. And it's pretty cool.
I think the Ginyu Force and the JoJo people need to have like a pose off. Yeah.
I mean, the Guinea people are just dabbing constantly. Like
Yeah,
I don't know if they're really posing.
They
Or
definitely
just
are.
hitting them. But yeah, part 6 fine as of right now. But where
Okay.
it goes, I know I'm a fan of. So I'm excited to talk more about that when everyone is complaining like, I don't like the ending to part 6, and I'm like, shut up, it's so good.
All right. Caroline's been watching her favorite anime of all time, so why don't you
Nothing.
share that with
It's
us?
not my favorite anime of all time.
Oh,
It's
come on.
Stop circulating false news.
Sorry, fake news.
Well, we were watching School Live, School Live. I always call it School Live, but I think it's School Live. Either way, it's Gakko Garashi. It's easier to say for me. And we were watching it for Anime Club. So we were talking a lot about that, of course, during Anime Club. And if you remember last week, we were going to have, whoever won our game last week was going to have a minute-long rant session or something like that.
Yeah.
So I writ this whole thing up about why Gakko Garashi is good. So it was on my mind, and that was one of the only things I actually watched in a considerable amount for this topic. So I decided might as well put it on there. It was a rewatch, so I pretty much knew everything that was going to happen, of course, when I rewatched it. But I did forget about a lot of things.
And how
There is
did
a
it
plot.
hold up?
I mean, it is a good show. I'm not gonna say it's not, considering I wrote this whole thesis about why it is. But it is good. Why don't you guys think it's not good?
Oh, I don't think it's bad. I don't
Okay.
know. To me, it's
Maybe
a shock value.
I've only watched 3 episodes of it, and I'm like, I'm good.
To me, it's like a shock value
you
show.
weren't there for the anime club, right?
I missed the anime club, so I was curious to hear how the conversation went and how. Did you feel like you were on your heels? Were people attacking you? Or people like, no, Carolina's actually not as bad as I was expecting? Or
You know, there
people
were
thought
some.
it was fun. People thought that Doofy Dog was like. What was his opinion on the Doofy Dog? That's really what
I
I'm
didn't
here
think
for.
he was doofy.
He was pretty doofy.
Okay, what's your definition of doofy?
Just a potato that flops around and just adds nothing but to look like a stepped-on squish toy.
But he saved lives, Mason.
My goodness,
You don't
'cause he's a
remember
good
the
dog,
mall
then he
episode.
just like flaps around the place like a pancake.
Yeah, he can be a goof, but he did
Yeah.
save a life. Keep
That-
that in mind.
Anyway, so
Um,
how did the club go? Did people like it more than
It was
not?
mixed. It was
Good.
mixed. There were some people who thought the moe was too much for, everything else that was going on. And that, okay, so I won't spoiler it, but it is, there is horror in the show of
Yep.
some sorts. So some people thought that the moe plus horror did not meld as much as they could have. And that there didn't seem to be a point in doing it, but me and some of the others were explaining why it has a point. There was one club member in particular, Gizmo, who hated this show. He was ripping it apart, and I was about to throw hands.
My man.
No. Everybody's opinion. It's fine. I won't say that he was wrong to have an opinion, but he was wrong to make he had the wrong opinion.
So what you're saying is you rewatched the show, it's been a while, and overall it's still held up and you still enjoy it.
Like,
Well, good. I'm glad.
It reintroduced me to what is probably one of my favorite scenes in anime. And you know what? I think we need to develop that whole, like, a ranting, rotating topic for me and you guys to do, because I really do
Therapy
want
hour.
to get into that diatribe that I had prepared. But we'll do that at another time. So yeah, that was kind of the one show that I actually watched all the way through that I can talk about for this topic today.
I thought Gakko Gurashi was fine. To me, it's really a shock value show, so I think I'd have trouble watching it again because I know the surprise. It's kind of like, it's a little like School Days, sort of like the anime's there to just like really fuck you up because they don't expect what's coming, and then once you see it, it works amazingly the first time, but I haven't rewatched it, so maybe I'm wrong. So.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that there are definite production values that make this not just an okay show. I mean, it is Moe Blob girls and all that fun stuff, but it looks very good, and it has like a lot of decent things that you could say about it.
All right. Anything else, Caroline?
Well, I guess we should go back to Mason, considering how much he has.
Sure, Mason.
Unless you want to talk next.
Yeah, go to Mitz. We'll give him a chance
okay.
with his hints of a show, and then
Yeah,
we'll move
so-
back to mine.
In my continued struggle to find a sports anime that's not terrible, I had heard people talking about this anime, and it used to pop up on ADV DVDs back in the day. Like I think specifically, I recall watching like Bubblegum Crisis Tokyo 2040 on DVD after going to like Sam Goody or whatever, and they'd always throw like a few more anime trailers on the DVD disc. Like it'd be like, oh, trailer for this and this, and Those Who Hunt Elves, or whatever the fuck. And I definitely saw Sakura Wars a lot on those trailers, and also Princess 9. So I picked up Princess 9 because it's on Retro Crush. And in my, as I said, my hunt for a sports anime that honestly wasn't terrible, and 2, a sports anime about girls, because boy, they're not very common. And if they are, they're not really all that serious. I really wanted that, so I picked up Princess Nine, thinking maybe I would get that. And Princess Nine is a mixed bag, honestly. It's a 26 episode anime. It came out in 1988 from Phoenix Entertainment. I don't even know if the studio still exists anymore. Let's see. Their last anime that came out was it was in 2007, so this studio's clearly gone, and they never really made much to begin with. Oh, and one of their anime has the word pornograph in it. Interesting. What the fuck? They got some weird shit. There's like all this like Jubei ninja whatever. There's Sin the movie, sensitive pornograph, and all this the Odutsuki, which is like obviously like super NC-17, and then Princess Nine. It's very random. But Princess Nine's this like sports anime about this girl whose name is her name is Ryo, although in the dub they call her Yo, which I think is super annoying. And her last name's Hayakawa, and she's a prodigy as a pitcher. So she's like a very fast pitcher. She's honestly a pretty good character. And she joins this new school, and I can't remember the name of the school, but she joins, they got it right here, the Kisudagi school, and the school doesn't have a girls' baseball team, it has a boys' team. But like for whatever reason, the chairman of the school has this dream of having like an all-girls team go to Koshien to play, to win Koshien or whatever, which is like the same plot line as every baseball anime practically. And it's not a bad show. Like it starts out, most of the players are good already. Like they go through like this recruiting process where they find this girl who's like, she pitches rocks into the ocean by her family's like fishing village, and or she hits rocks or whatever, and so she's like a great batter. And they spend a lot of time recruiting these players, and then most of them are pretty good except for like this one girl she's really stupid. Her name is Yoko Tokasaki, who's like this. I mean, her promo art on my anime list says it all. She's basically like this mad hot anime girl who is pictured like in like a sexy bikini, and her goal really is to become like a model. So she's not very good at baseball. Like she's like in the outfield, when a ball comes to her, she'll just let it like hit the ground. The problem with Princess Nine is that it wastes a lot of time in the middle of the show. Like they fuck around a lot, and when I got to like episode 15 or something, and I had gone through like my third or fourth straight episode of just nonsense filler, I was like, well, you haven't even like finished building your team yet, and you're supposed to go to Koshien, play through the tournament, and win the game, and you only have 10 more episodes or so. And I was like, they're never getting through this. And sure enough, they didn't get through it. Like they didn't really have enough time, honestly, to finish the show. As Captain Avatar said in the chat, it definitely needed a second season. The end of the show was pretty convincing. Like I wish the show had been more like the end of the anime for the whole run, because it got into some pretty good like baseball towards the last 2 or 3 episodes, but there was just a lot of fluffy fucking bullshit in the middle of it, and way too much of like, girls can play sports too, and I got to spend 5 episodes getting like the committee to approve a girls team to play baseball. And I'm just like, I get it, like girls can play sports too, we don't have to waste the whole fucking show on this, it's overdone, blah blah blah, same song and dance. And in the end, like they play well, but like ultimately they didn't really have enough time in this anime to really have a proper run at the sport, because they wasted probably 12 episodes on like romance, because girls are falling for like the boys on the other teams, and the girls can play too, and blah blah blah. So honestly, Princess Nine is not very good. It has a 7.1 on Mal. It's probably about right. It's pretty mediocre. So I failed yet again. It's more of a sports anime than like Remain, but it's not. When half of the run is like crying about how girls can play sports, and then like girls crying because the boy they love like kisses somebody else, or some nonsense backstory that no one cares about. It's just they just wasted too much time. So I didn't think it was very good, but I gave it a shot, and I don't regret watching it. So I do love sports.
Good. I'm glad you gave it a shot, because it's been kind of on my radar, and I'm like, I haven't heard great things about it. We'll see what you say, and I'm glad it's like. I could better spend my time watching other things.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not. It's not. Again, it's not very fulfilling as like women playing sports. Like too much of the show is like the sad story about how women can't play sports, and like you'd be better off proving the audience wrong than wasting time on like crying for 3 episodes because my boyfriend broke up with me. It just doesn't make you take it very seriously. They like I said, they do rein it in and get back to the good shit at the end, but it was a little too late, honestly. So, but Yo is a good character. She was probably the best character in the show, and she was definitely dragged down by the supporting cast. So, bye Hayakawa. You were pretty cool. Back to Mason, I think.
Really quick, just to like bounce off what you were watching. I also started a long-running sports show, sports with quotes around it if you're some people, but Hikaru no Go.
Oh yeah,
75 episode long one about our little boy who gets possessed. Not possessed. Think of Yu-Gi-Oh. He's got like multiple colors hair. A great grandmaster spirit like enters his body and can like talk to him and be like, hey, here's how you win all your games at Go. And he's like, what the heck is Go? That's for nerds. Boring. And this like Barrett that's in him is like, I like playing Go a lot. Like, it'd be really cool if we played Go sometimes. And eventually this kid gets into it and gets really into it. And it turns out he might be sort of good at it. And I'm only 13 episodes in, and it's been better than I expected so far.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Because if I was watching like a baseball anime and I'd never seen baseball before, I knew nothing about it, and I didn't know the rules, I don't think it would be as satisfying. Now I don't know anything about Go, so I don't think I do at least. So does the anime like help you learn the game so that you understand what the hell they're doing, or are you just like this viewer that they assume that the sport, the board game or whatever, and that you are following along?
So because the main kid, obviously Hikaru, doesn't know anything about Go, they can use him as a conduit to explain the basics about how you surround the other people's pieces, and that's how you claim them, and they do break down the game in that manner. That said, there are a lot of protracted scenes of just characters, like it's just a straight down overhead view of the board, and you see them putting pieces on, and I am not super invested in that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure people who are way more into it can take one look at that board and be like, oh, I know how it got to this point and where the tides are and who's got the upper hand. And I'm just like, okay, they're playing the game right now. I'll wait and listen to hear how they say things are going, because I'm not that engaged. I've played Go maybe once in my life. Okay, so it does teach you how to play, as with a March Comes In Like the Lion, like knowing the game and the rules and the technical side. It doesn't take away from the emotions or stakes or characters playing them. So they do teach it to you. They do have a major focus on the game. It's not like ping pong where it's almost an afterthought, but it is there, and it is pretty fun so far. So I will probably do an update on that as I get further into it, because it's as long as Hajime no Ippo, so there's probably lots of room for it to go.
Yeah, I only ask because like I've seen shows where they play mahjong, and they don't fucking care that you don't know mahjong, and I have no clue what's happening.
I definitely had to learn mahjong to watch and even appreciate. What was it? It's not Akari. What am I thinking? Blanking?
I feel like it's popped up in a lot of shows. Like I think it showed up in Food Wars at least
Akagi.
Once.
So Akagi is the same guy that did Kaiji, but it's all based on mahjong. And mahjong is an incredibly difficult game, so like
there's also different rules, and from different regions.
I guess there are slight variants.
My friend, she tried showing me how to play mahjong, and this was like last year, so I can't really remember the rules. But she told me that her family loves playing mahjong, and she doesn't even get cleared on the rules sometimes. So it is difficult.
Yeah, there's lots of house rules. So mahjong is difficult, and you need to know that to understand Akagi. Go is simple to learn. I think you could go watch a 5-minute video on YouTube and learn how to play Go. It's like a simple game, and the show does teach it to you. So if you're in for a long-running show that seems to have promise and is it's not the best animated. It's Studio Pierrot, so it's not gonna knock your socks off. And you like I don't know, Yu-Gi-Oh. It's kind of cool. So I'm enjoying it. I'm going to keep on watching it. But the next show I want to talk about is actually a 40-minute long OVA that I heard about at Anime NYC because I went to a panel with the legendary Shinji Aramaki, which if you know anything about mecha, he is a classic mecha designer. I mean, he did Bubblegum Crisis, he did a lot of the Mega Zones, he did Wolf's Rain. He has done a ton of mech designs across the universe of anime. So if you love, seeing the inside of a cockpit and seeing people press lots of buttons,
yes,
he's your man.
I love this.
And so I went to an Anime Ego panel because they were like re-releasing or reformatting whatever his very first directorial debut in Metal Skin Panic Maddox 01. Have you ever watched this, Mitz?
I haven't. Is this related to anything else? Because I feel like it is. It's in the.
So?
I gotta look it up. I feel like I've seen Maddox and other things.
I've seen like Mad Lax before.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
But yeah, I believe this is a standalone. It's a 40-minute short, and it's really an excuse to draw mechs. And that's about it. Like, I wasn't a big fan of this because it's a very dumb plot of like this like military like anti-tank little, think of like a Gundam that's the size of a human. Like, it's very small. Okay. They're like transporting this little mech unit around, and it just like falls off the back of this truck into like a ramen shop.
What?
And this kid's like, cool, and he like takes it home, and he like doesn't read the manual, and he's like, oh, this is kind of cool, let me see inside, and like gets inside of it. So it's like the opposite of Shinji. He just accidentally stumbles into this mech.
And he can't control it, right?
And he can't control it, and he can't get out. So he just like in this thing as it goes around tearing stuff up, and he's like, I can't get out, and eventually he can kind of control it, and the military is like, well, we can't have this thing going around destroying everything, so they try to take him down, and he's like, well, I don't want to die, and I kind of want to see my girlfriend, so I'm gonna kind of fight back, like, loosely. It's honestly quite dumb. Like, I wasn't the biggest fan of it, but like just seeing the Aramaki panel, watching him speak and learning about some of his other work, so I was like, I should give it a shot. And I did. Like, it's big Retro Crush vibes, and that's where you can watch it. So if you want just like something dumb to have on in the background that looks kind of better than it has any right to be, it's 40 minutes long. Metal Skin Panic Maddox 1. It's a thing, I guess.
Retro Crush is so
and nothing
great.
Else.
Pretty much.
I finally signed up for Retro Crush and decided I was going to pay for it because their advertising is absolutely just suffocating. I mean, it is like, I'm not even fucking kidding. They make you watch probably 30 commercials per episode. I mean, it is like, they're like, commercial 1 of 8. I'm like, what? 1 of 8? And then there's like before, after, and during. So I was like, fuck this. I can pay the $4.99 a month and not have to deal with this shit. So it's definitely worth it.
That's not too bad. And you watch so much on Retro Crush, that's definitely worth it.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I'm watching now when I'm not watching for the podcast, because I just that late 80s just really hits me in the spot. So
there you
Caroline.
Go. Yeah. What's next?
Well, into stuff that I've haven't really watched way too much of, but I started again the Aquatope on White Sand because that review will be coming up within the next few weeks, I think. I'm not entirely sure when. And it's a 2-core show. So I figured I might as well get a jump on it so I'm not spending several hours in 1 week trying to get through a 2-core show. And so this was actually a show that I passed a while ago. And I will say that it is, a very pretty show. But one thing that Mitsuki is going to have a rough time with is the two-toned hair. So I'm sorry.
God, why do they do that?
I mean, even I find it a little bit nauseating. Everything else looks great, but it's just make your hair blue. Don't make it 2 tones of blue.
It's so fucking try hard. It's trying so hard to look different. It's like, oh my god. Before long, every anime character is just gonna look like a fucking clown. It's like we're gonna have like teardrops on all their faces, and people are gonna be like, having you're gonna have these characters where it's like 2 different tones of hair, 2 different colored eyes, fucking rainbow colored like clothes. You're gonna have these characters, you can't even look at them. They're gonna be so ridiculous. Anyway, I'm just old.
I mean, they look generally pretty normal. It's just the so slight fade into a lighter color at the bottom of their hair. You know, it's just so unnecessary, but they want to show those gradients.
Ooh, I love them.
Love the
We'll
gradients.
probably do Aquataupe in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I
that
think
enough
it's
time?
just finishing up.
Yeah, we'll do Realist Tarot next week, and then Aquataupe the week after, because Aquataupe ends in like 3 days.
Yeah, looks like it. I mean, I'm honestly pretty surprised that this show is 2 core because it is pretty slice of life. I mean, there's a bit of drama in it, but it's not an overwhelming amount, at least not within the first 5 episodes where I'm at. It is good. As long as you don't mind a slice of life show, it is good so far. And you know, I will say that there's this one part where, okay, so just to back up and say what it's all about, it's between this girl, I believe on, what's the southern island of Japan?
Kyushu?
No, like,
Okinawa?
Okinawa, yeah. So, small town, Okinawa, she is trying to run her family's small aquarium and trying to bring it out of bankruptcy, like basically. And then this former idol comes to town just trying to run away from her problems because she either quit or got fired. And like her parents were like, oh, we can't wait for you to come home. But then she decides, you know what, I'm just going to take a random flight. We're going to Okinawa. And she meant to just be there for a very sporadic decision, not permanently, but then she meets the girl that runs the aquarium, and she decides that she wants to help her, bring it back and work there and all that stuff. So yeah, it's basically between the two of them. And of course, like, we got the mother who's like her manager, and she's like, where are you? And you're thinking, oh no, this is going to be like, she's gonna find her, she's gonna force her to come back and be all these problems. Though I was kind of surprised that she's actually a pretty good mother. I mean, of course you want to know where your child is, but you're expecting her to be like the evil manager type that doesn't care about her own child, more about, the whole making her famous kind of thing. But yeah, so that was surprising. That was actually a pretty decent episode. So I still have hope for it. I mean, it's probably not going to be as good as I first expected, especially since it is so long. But I don't know. It could be good.
All right.
Ringy endorsement.
Smart move
Sorry.
planning ahead. I'm going to be... Is this dubbed?
I don't know. Possibly.
I'm going to look that up because that would sure make life easier as far as watching all of it in 1 week. Okay. Well, I think we're back to Masson.
Yeah,
He's a
I
machine.
finished the 3rd and final season of Modao Zushi, the founder of Diabolism, that Chinese ONA that actually came out in August, and I didn't know about it. I just kind of forgot that it dropped. So I was like, I think it was like end of November, I was scrolling through Annie lists, and I was like, oh, this is complete. Like, it finished airing, and I kind of forgot. So I went back and I watched it, and it was kind of like JoJo, more of the same. If you like seasons 1 and 2, it picks right back up where it is, which is kind of a problem because it's been a couple years since I watched season 2, and I forgot quite a lot. But once again, it just looks pretty. It has gorgeous music. Had a pretty satisfying ending, and I don't think there's much more to say than that. If you're like me and forgot that season 3 came out, there you go. If you like it and watch it, great. If not, it's not so much better or worse than the other seasons where I will change your opinion on it. So if you already like Modao Zushi, great. If not, I mean, watch it again because it's a pretty fun time. What I did rewatch, though, one of the best shows of 2021 by far, because I just realized it was on Netflix, was Pui Pui Molcar. Have you guys watched this yet?
I have
Nope.
not.
Why?
Enlighten me.
It's
I'm sorry.
3-minute long episode.
You only just watched it, Mason.
I seen
No,
Cheese Sweet
I
Home.
rewatched it. I've
Oh.
rewatched it. It's
Oh.
on Netflix. I've seen this. I watched this when it was coming out months ago. When did it? Let me look. When it started airing. Yeah, January. It was like the first show to come out this year. It's like a 3-minute short show about these cute little felt knitted guinea pig cars that go around, and it's still unironically one of the best shows of this year. It's amazing. It's splendid, and now it's on Netflix, and you can watch it. They split it into 4 episodes where they group couple episodes together, and it's amazing. And one of my friends,
he's reaching for the shelf.
they, after we watched it, painted me a picture.
Oh my god, it is a molcar. It's
of the
literally
little potato molcar with carrots, and
Wow.
he's making a very surprised face, and it's amazing.
it's literally
So-
a mole shaped like a car.
Well, it's literally a car with a mole body.
Oh,
They're like they literally take people around town. They're driven. They
He's
get
Louis.
into all sorts of hijinks of going through drive-throughs, of keeping cats cool in the summer, of assisting in bank robberies,
what?
What?
in zombification.
do they
It's
do they
amazing.
explain
What the
why
fuck?
this is this
There's
way?
no words in the show at all. It's
Wow.
they've got the Akira slide, when they're taking on a massive helicopter and they do that like drift away from the camera, like the most famous shot in all of animation.
Pretty
They have
much,
one
yeah.
of those, like Pui Pui Molcar, Puimolcar. Unironically, I've said that word way too often lately.
Moruka.
It's so much fun. You can show it to anybody. Sub, dub, doesn't matter. They just make these squeaky sounds as they walk/drive around, and it's so precious. And I forgot how much I enjoy this show. So watch it if you haven't. It's a fun time. It takes like 20 minutes to watch the entire season.
Really?
And
So,
I
so it's
guarantee-
very short.
Yeah, I guarantee it will show up on my end of year best of list. Like, unironically, it's good. Please watch it.
All right. It's pretty short.
It is.
Do they
You
like
can watch
do they like have oil changes and stuff?
They eat carrots. That's kind of their fuel source.
Oh.
So I don't know if they need to do an oil change, but they do poop in the streets.
I
So
will say that
Whoa.
reminds me. I need to get my oil changed. I
Did-
keep on putting that off.
Yeah, go get it done at Walmart. It's cheap. Did they have like little poop bags that
I mean, it's all biodegradable, probably.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, all poop really is biodegradable. In fact, quite good for the environment.
Exactly.
No,
Poop,
We have gotten to
fertilizes-
this section of the podcast, apparently.
fertilizes the ground. I used to have a neighbor that would pee around the perimeter of his wife's flowers because the deer would come and eat the flowers at night. And if you pee around the perimeter, they used to say, pee around the perimeter. It keeps the deer away. They'll smell your pee, and then they'll...
So here's the
and
question.
then, so imagine like a 40-year-old man butt naked at night walking
Well,
around.
that's
in
what I
the
was
cold.
wondering. Does he urinate in like a can or something and then like pour it out like a civilized person, or is he out there walking
Yeah.
around?
Yeah.
Because it's not like he
Yeah.
can just stand in one spot and spray. Like he's got to
Oh, yeah.
scoot around the place.
I like to think he's like peeing and walking backwards. That's what I like to think. Because, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Trips on a rake, falls backwards, disaster strikes.
All right. Anything
Watch
else you guys
Molcar.
want to talk about? Caroline, do you have anything else?
I mean, I guess I could talk about Asobi Asobase. I barely watched any of it, but we're doing it for Anime Club this week. I'll probably end up watching some more of it before then, but I will say that I of course I knew about this show, and I figured that I would probably like it because I like this kind of comedy stuff. I did not realize just how much I'll watch the show. Like, I knew it was going to be a little bit more of the insane kind of comedy that comes out of anime sometimes. And then I started the show between those 3 girls. I always find that, like, oh, one of them is somewhat normal compared to the other 2. And then that changes. And so then my opinion changes. Oh, she's pretty normal. And then that changes, too. And then it's like a cycle.
There is no straight woman or straight man in Asobi Asobase, and it is one of the best comedies to come out in recent memory. It's so much fun.
Well, I
It's
guess
very
we will
wild.
be talking more about it at Anime Club this week. So if you're listening live, then please join us.
Yeah.
I don't know what an asobase is. I'm confused.
It's isn't it like a what do they call it? Workshop of Fun? Is that the
Yes.
tagline to it?
You got me.
It's a blast. Did we review it on the podcast?
I
know
did-
I didn't
I don't
review
think
it.
so.
I wasn't around back then.
Yeah, I don't think so because I don't remember reviewing that. So,
It's good, people. Watch it.
all right. Well,
that's all I got. That's
about
all
it.
I got.
We've come to
Yeah.
the end of
All right, guys.
what
Well,
we've watched.
I'm gonna try to watch more anime this coming month.
I always say I'm going to try my best as well, but it never happens.
It's just been busy. I was out of town. I got engaged. Work's been absolutely killing me.
It's the holiday season.
Holidays. That's not even really the issue. And then excuse 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll throw this out, and then wah, Cry Me a River. Mitsugi's a lazy bum. So
Nobody cares. Get good. Watch
get
anime.
good. Learn to
Have
code.
fun.
Mason's pulling the carriage. Meanwhile, we are already dead.
Yeah. I'm just like a corpse. Yeah. I'm just being dragged like Hector behind whatever the fuck his name is,
Where's
Achilles'
this going?
chariot.
Where's
All
this
right.
going?
Have you seen Troy?
I love that movie. I've seen it
read-
like 4 or 5 times. I think it's
Read
great.
the Odyssey.
I love that movie.
In show weekly trivia question time. Let's just end this. In the case study of Vanitas, what is the name of Paris in the vampire dimension? And we will talk about the answer up after the news break.
Hey, Anime Addicts, this is it. It's time for your anime news break, leading us off with 2 light novels being made into TV anime, which means that there's a 50-50 shot that these are indeed isekai. The first one is known as Nanatsu no Maken ga Shihai Suru, otherwise titled Reign of the Seven Spellblades. Again, it's a light novel that was announced at the first day of the Dengeki Bungo Winter Festival event, which happens every year. In the worlds of swords and magic, there exist irreversible techniques commonly known as spellblades. These sparse and elusive spells, along with their casters, are shrouded in mystery, and only their absolute lethality is known to the masses. And every year, there's a school called Kimberly, which brings new students in every spring. And from the entrance ceremony onward, the main character Oliver realizes that not all is quite right over at Kimberly, with the emergence of labyrinths, monsters, and other threats, etc., all threatening the student body. The anime is about the exploration of the fates of 2 different people at the academy as they uncover the dark truths that are within its walls. Sounds kind of interesting, pretty neat. So if you are a fan of this light novel, which has 300,000 copies in print currently, you will be able to watch this Reign of 7 Deadly Spellblades sometime soon, I presume next year. Next up, I promised you 2 light novels. This one, Buta no Liver wa Kanetsushiro, otherwise titled as The Story of a Man Turned into a Pig. The unappealing otaku awakens in the body of a pig after he passes out while eating raw pig liver. That's an isekai if I've ever heard of one. The pig finds himself in the company of a girl, an innocent who can read people's minds, and she accepts him despite his boorish thoughts. So it definitely seems pretty weird. So if you are a fan of this sort of stuff, it is definitely an isekai coming out. This time you're being reincarnated as a pig. Amazing. When we get the Story of a Man Turned into a Pig, which I assume will come out also next year. Next up, Osaka police uses Ace Attorney characters for anti-marijuana campaign as Japan continues its, general attack on marijuana as if it was, the deadliest thing in the world. Capcom announces in a press release on Thursday that it will have Ace Attorney posing in posters all over Osaka Prefecture as part of its delinquent juvenile prevention efforts. So these are some pretty cool posters. If you're a big fan of Ace Attorney, you can look them up online. They are used to spread awareness and discourage the use of marijuana, which has become, gasp, more common among young people. There are 6,000 posters and 4,000 flyers which will be printed all over Osaka saying no to marijuana use. So you can check that out, I guess, online. And lastly, the real-life cafe that was featured in A Place Further Than the Universe has closed due to its owner's health. Cafe da Stale in Gunma Prefecture, Tatebayashi City, is going to be closing, and actually closed yesterday as I'm recording this. So it was the real-life inspiration for that cafe featured in A Place Further Than the Universe, and 59-year-old owner Takaki Maeda has had deteriorating health and decided that they would close the cafe. So that's really unfortunate. Maeda suffered some brain damage at the end of September while the cafe was temporarily closed in order to prevent the spread of COVID-19. So big sad news for fans of a place further than the universe, and I wish the best to Takaki Maeda and to whatever he will be working on in the future. This was Mitsuki. This was your anime news break, and now time to get back to the podcast. Oh, Christmas tree, oh, Christmas tree. I wonder if Santa got me that life-size Catgirl Persicom that I was wanting. What? Monopoly Moe Blob Edition? Aw, and Go to Jail has been replaced with the Anime Pit of Hell. How cute. Well, maybe Santa and his elves will head over to AAApodcast.com/join, or maybe they'll head over to Patreon and spread a little Christmas cheer with a little bit of extra support for the podcast. Again, if you're listening, AAApodcast.com/join or Patreon. Happy holidays.
And now, great moments in Anime Addicts Anonymous history.
Joseph Joestar is so fucking jacked. He's on insane amounts of TRT. I mean, he has been juicing. I mean, forget Big Papa Pump, forget Hogan, all these fucking wrestlers. Joseph Joestar is jacked. He's been juicing. You could literally lift that rock off of Caesar.
That's probably why his mental capacity took a dive later in life.
He just couldn't get over the guilt.
Yeah, maybe.
Joseph's just like, you know what? He's such a great friend that I'm gonna pound on the top of this rock with this headband because I'm just so distressed. But, you know, I could easily lift this rock off of him and give him a proper burial, but fuck it. He's good where he is.
He could sense the life force.
His mom doesn't care. She doesn't need to have a gravestone to visit. You know, the children will not come crying. That, you know, people will not weep in the streets. We'll just leave him there. Fuck it. Fuck it. Welcome back to the pod. In the case study of Vanitas, what is the name of Paris in the vampire dimension? Jesus. Atlas Paris. Okay. All right. Whoa. Nonsense. All right. So, welcome back to the podcast, guys. I hope you enjoyed the news break. And I knew one of those two isekai one of those two light novels that are being adapted had to be an isekai. I was right. You are now reincarnated as a pig. And now, and continuing with like the theme of what we were talking about on Hobby Addicts, which was I discussed 2 documentaries on Netflix about just completely suicidal rock climbing and alpine mountaineering. Mason's going to talk about something a little similar in Unexplored Pictures.
Get your popcorn ready. It's time for Unexplored Pictures with Mason.
I'm just getting pumped for it. Do the Patriots even play today, Mitz?
They don't, but all the other teams that were kind of competing with them for the top seed have pretty much lost. So it's pretty...
excellent. Mitz is wearing his Patriots hat, in case you were wondering why I bring that up. Anyway, yes, as mentioned today, in Unexplored Pictures, we are talking about the Summit of the Gods, or Kamigami no Itadaki, or Le Sommet des Dieux, which is my attempt at French. Tells the story of Makoto, a photographer for a Japanese expedition trying to get to the top of Mount Everest. He stumbles upon the opportunity to investigate a camera that might have belonged to Greg Mallory, a very real, celebrated, and real-world climber who was one of the first people to attempt to conquer Everest and vanished along the way, and no one knows what happened to him. And essentially, in his tracking down of this camera, Makoto is wrapped up in the story of a famed climber who is fictional called Habu Joji, which is very similar to the guy Mitz talked about in Hobby Addicts, this guy who can just climb everything like a superhero. And this Habu Joji has also vanished from the world of climbing, and a lot of this movie is about recounting the legends of Joji as Makoto tries to track him down. And this is an animated film, obviously, but instead of coming from Japan, it comes out of France. Though it is based on a Japanese manga from 2000 done by the United Jiro Taniguchi, which itself is based on a Japanese book from the prolific and popular Baku Yume Makura. So it's very much rooted in Japanese storytelling, despite it being animated by a French company, which is why I feel like it's okay to talk about here, because it's pretty darn cool. It's 90 minutes long, and it came out on November 30th on Netflix. So you can actually go watch this right now. It's not hard to get. And this is a great movie for lots of different people. If you are a fan of mountain climbing or documentaries, or like get too nervous when you see real people do it, this is worth the watch. And also, this could be a really good gateway movie for someone who is like hasn't delved into the world of animation but enjoys the outdoors. If you have a grumpy old dad or mom who loves hiking and trekking it, but it really doesn't give your moe girls a shot, hey, maybe lead them into the world of anime with this one. Because the climbing and photography equipment that appear in this movie seem pretty authentic, as well as like the terminology and like concerns. They often talk about the death zone, as Mitch mentioned. Mitz mentioned. And just, a lot of it is pretty cool and well adapted. The dub is quite solid with very naturalistic characters, and the original like French language gives more of a low-key vibe to things. So both the sub and dub were quite good. The only knock against this film is like it didn't really need to be animated. You can go see plenty of documentaries about people doing all this kind of stuff in the real world, and the animation doesn't bring a ton to the table. In fact, there's a 2016 live action of this very movie. So if that's more your speed, which isn't likely because you're listening to us, that's also an option. That said, the animation, though it is a bit simple, really does capture the world, and when paired with the soaring orchestral numbers, does invoke the grandeur and majesty of not just the mountains, but the human pursuit of conquering them. So overall, the Summit of the Gods, not a bad movie, not too long, pretty in and out, and if you just like seeing stuff and getting in a wintry mood, it's not a bad watch. Did you give this a shot, Mitz?
I haven't. I mean, I didn't even know it existed. So
now you do.
Now I will check it out. The cover art of the movie, as you posted, I assume this is like a featured image, is pretty much what I described in Hobby Addicts. I mean, you're literally in a situation where if even the remotest small thing goes wrong, you're just plummeting to your death. I mean, these people are totally nuts. But it is...
Yeah, there's a lot of instances where things go wrong, and it just hurts to watch them try to deal with it. So
what's interesting is that like there's so many people climbing Mount Everest now that like, and they featured this in the movie, that 14 Peaks movie I talked about in Hobby Addicts, but like you can find it if you Google a traffic jam on Mount Everest. There was literally a section of that movie where they're discussing how they went back down the mountain at one point because there were so many people trying to summit that day that like they were just getting in fights about who had like priority of going up or down, because there's like 1,000 people all lined just body to body halfway up the mountain because that's so many people are climbing Everest. So it's funny how like 100 years ago or whatever, when Everest first got summited, it was like this amazing achievement. And it still isn't an amazing achievement, but now it's like this thing that people do all the fucking time, and there's just like tens of thousands of people trying to climb Everest. So it's interesting. All of this is pretty cool. So I think I will check that out, Mason. Thanks.
Yeah, let us know what you think. And if you, listener, have watched it or plan to, let me know if you liked it. And if not, well, too bad. We'll talk about a different movie next time. So
too bad, so sad.
Indeed.
All right, and now it's time for mailbags.
It's time for an almighty anime mailbag. Anime.
Mailbag.
I don't have a lot of dancing left in my jeans after I used it all up for Mitz's amazing song from earlier this episode. I hope you haven't forgotten already, because I sure haven't.
Of course. That's been engraved into my soul. I'll probably be having nightmares about it. No, actually, I want to ask, because before we started these,
you could relive the fun. You could relive the fun.
Don't wear it out. One thing that you asked before the episode started is if anything rhymed with Robitussin. Why did you ask that? It wasn't even part of the song.
Because I've been coughing, and I don't know why I've been coughing because it's cold, and I pounded a bunch of Robitussin before we started, and it wasn't working, so I just went and pounded some more. So I might be fighting off army ants with like a broom here pretty soon. You never know.
So what's the point in asking if anything rhymed with Robitussin?
He was gonna freestyle for us.
Yeah, I was gonna bust out for you. I was gonna do a rap. I was gonna like break dance, be all like not 36 and curmudgeonly. I'm getting
that's what stopped it. Robitussin. That was just too difficult to rhyme with.
I'm getting the feeling Caroline did not like my karaoke.
You know what? I think I'm just being a
Grinch. You're pulling the big mitts right now.
Fair enough.
It might have been wrong of me to be so unsupportive of your creative
endeavors.
It's fine.
Endeavors, yeah.
I just want you to know that I am an ace karaoke person because I am fully uninhibited, even sober. I will just make a complete fool of myself, as you have witnessed. Are you sure you don't want to hear it again?
Do you want to play it again?
No,
if someone were to take
kidding.
us out to karaoke, who would be better, Mitz or Caroline?
Me.
I mean, Caroline might be a better singer, but are you uninhibited enough to get up there and like literally take your clothing off? Because I would strip almost totally naked in front of an audience and not care.
Well, I feel like that's what gets you kicked out of karaoke night.
That's what gets you into a good time.
Come now, my lady.
I think I will finish the song and not get. No, that's just weird. We're not even going to get into that. Let's get into the mailbag.
Someday, maybe we will do karaoke together.
Indeed.
Okay. You can submit a mailbag on AAApodcast.com through the mailbag button, like Yotaru Vegeta does pretty much every day of his life, because we always get mailbags from him.
Bless him.
So let's start with what he's written us. Let's be definitive, AAA. We can argue into the heat death of the universe. Wow, that's
wow.
poetic.
The heat death.
Yeah,
what?
The heat death of the universe.
What does that mean?
We can argue about whether anime are good or not, but it's inarguable when an anime's production's quality takes a dive, runs into some problems, gets canceled, or the animation company goes out of business. So what title comes to mind when you think about a show that fell on their face behind the scenes? I'll give you a little time to think by throwing out Wizard Barristers. What?
Yeah.
What was that? I don't understand.
It's a show that went downhill.
Yeah.
Let's put it like that.
Yeah.
And the heat death is essentially when there's like so much entropy, I think, that no more like thermonuclear reactions can like sustainably happen, and everything just like breaks down.
Nice.
Yeah, the Wizard Barristers was an Umetsu anime, and he's like the guy that did Kite and Mezzo and other things, and usually he makes like hentai stuff, and like hentai with action, but Wizard Barristers was fucking terrible. Yeah, hot garbage. I mean, I threw out Promise Neverland because it's like a low-hanging fruit, if I'm understanding the question correctly, but there are a ton of anime that fall flat on their face. There are a few that I'm literally thinking of them, and I can't come up with the name. One of them was like a key visual arts anime about like a comet, and that anime was fucking terrible. But, God, what was the name? It had like a name like, I'm not going to say it was called Caroline, but it was something like that.
Charlotte?
What was it?
Charlotte, maybe?
Charlotte fell flat on its face. And then there was another show that was about like mafia, like turf wars, and it had like literally no ending at all. Like it was pretty good. One guy had like a sword, and another guy was like blind. I can't remember the name of that either, but it was not 91 Days, but it came out like in the same period. But it had like it had absolutely no ending at all, completely unfinished. And everybody was like, we reviewed it, I recall, and didn't like it much because of that. That was maybe 6 years ago. So I'll think of it someday.
Yeah, there's so many that run into production issues. I mean, most recently, Wonder Egg Priority definitely had a massive thing where they were like having to like go get like Twitter animators to like fill out the scenes, and like so many people were going to the hospital from overwork. Like that was pretty obvious. I think another one that was like more quote unquote like behind the scenes, as your question seems to ask though, is like Stars Align, because that was a fantastic show, and someone could watch that and be like, where were the production issues? Like, it kind of had a weird ending, but like it looked good. And the production issue was they have the episode count like midway through production of it. So what was supposed to be a 24 episode, a 2-core show, got slashed down to 12, and that's why they kind of had to like do that like hodgepodge ending where we just need season 2, please, let's make it happen. But yeah, as Mitt said, these things happen far too regularly, so it's kind of sad.
Yeah, for my answer, I know that there are anime that have production issues, but I couldn't really think off the top of my head what specific ones did. But in terms of shows that just lost quality towards the end, and that was, very stark difference, I loved Dororo, but its first core greatly outweighs the second core. It's not nearly as good as the first, in my opinion. Still enjoyable, but not nearly as good. And also, the whole One Punch Man Season 2 thing, we will shit on it so much, but when you watch an episode from Season 1 and then you start Season 2, you just get... It's honestly painful knowing how much quality was lost in that transition.
I got it. The anime, I couldn't think of the name. It's Gangsta. That's what it's called.
Oh, yeah, I never watched a single
Bad
episode
name.
of
Yeah,
that.
it had no ending at all. It just ended. Like they had like some... Like the studio, it was Studio Man Globe. Like they went under like in the middle of the production of it, I think, and that was the end of it.
Manglobe had such a great run for the short amount of time they were around.
Yeah, they also had some really weird Moe Blob shit. I'm looking at some very odd photos. Ergo Proxy was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Mason, did you get the answer yet?
I did.
Okay. I want to make sure you got everything out. All right. Well, thanks for your mailbag, of course. If you want to leave a mailbag, aapodcast.com/mailbag will get you there. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff you can do while you're there. You can submit Shark Tanks. You can submit confessionals. You can do topic requests, retro review requests, all this stuff. Just take your time, enjoy it. Yeah, it's there for you, so you can be, a contributor to the show itself. So we do enjoy that when people that listen actually weigh in, and and we're a little bit lazy, so it wouldn't hurt to have some content created for us. So
yeah, thank you,
All
YB,
right.
as always.
yeah, and thank you as always. So, oh boy, Vanitas no card. Here we go. It's the moment we've all been waiting for. And Mason, you can take this one, although you didn't pass this, but it's. I've been talking a lot, and nobody wants to hear me talk anymore.
No, it's great. So this is, a review of the Case Study of Vanitas. This came out in summer of 2021. Failed by Mitts originally by I don't know how slim of margins, but
Nah.
Listener's Choice brought it back. And you guys wanted to hear it, so here we go. So you can find this on Funimation or Hulu, and it tells the story in a 19th century Paris of two... Paris, however you want to say it.
Very fancy.
Exactly. I hit you guys with the Le Sommet, so I'm really feeling it, Also, I can't speak French at all, and you guys can clearly tell. So it tells the story of two main characters, one named Vanitas, the titular one, who has kind of grown up under the guise of being inflicted by the curse of the Blue Moon Vampire, Blue Moon Vampires being shunned from the rest of the pack. And he's equipped with the cursed grimoire called the Book of Vanitas, which gives him interesting powers that we will get into. And his counterpoint is No Archviste, who is a vampire who has the power to see your memories when he drinks your blood. And the two kind of meet up under interesting circumstances and kind of bop around the city and the Atlas version of Paris in that city.
Jeez.
And just get up to hijinks and get involved with other groups with different motivations. And there's really not a through line. They just kind of have these little arcs of getting into kerfuffles and various things, and they romp around and you watch them do it. That's kind of what it's about. It's done by Studio Bones, directed by Tomoyuki Itamura, and it's based on a manga. So Mitz, being the one who first discussed this, what were your initial impressions or expectations going in?
Yeah, well, I'd already seen, obviously a good chunk of this, and I didn't like it. Really, I think it was fine, honestly. Like, the reason why I didn't pass it was because I had other things to pass that season. I don't recall what it was, but I'm sure it was more substantial. And two, the designs just really annoy me in this anime. So I passed it, or I didn't pass it for those reasons, but I'm not surprised it got listener choice pick because I think it was the highest rated non-sequel of that season. So, there were a bunch of sequels that season, and this one, which is why this one didn't make it. I think it just got swallowed up in the ocean of like popular sequels. But I don't know. I knew what to expect. I'd seen it already.
Nice. And Caroline?
I didn't know. I didn't remember a whole lot about this show. Like, I remember it being about vampires or something like that. And, I'll be honest, I was not really expecting it to be all that great. Especially since, initially it was not passed. And that season was just not a very chock full of good stuff season. So, I wasn't really having high hopes for this one.
I would say I also didn't have the highest of hopes, but I didn't know anything about the show. I just knew it was based on a manga done by Jun Mochizuki, who did Pandora Hearts, which I had read for our Discord's manga club a while back. And I remember not being the biggest fan of it. A bunch of people say, oh, it gets good later, it gets good later, it gets good later. But the initial entry into it didn't really jive with me. So I was kind of expecting that same disconnect when I came to this show. And we'll see how close that ended up being. But spoiler-free recommendation, Mitz, should people watch this show?
There was a long-standing like half joke on this podcast that vampire shows are bad, and it's been proven not true a few times. But the reason why I started to say that a long time ago was because there are a lot of examples where that's true. There's a lot of bad and mediocre vampire shows. This could be one of them, honestly. This show is a 2-core show. It's not finished as of yet. I'm not prepared to say if the show is really not good or not, but it's certainly, I would call middling, or as the kids would say, mid, I think, if I get that right.
Yeah, you got
very
it.
mid.
You got it, my dude.
I would not recommend this show. I expected a lot given that it's Studio Bones. I was hoping for a lot when I initially picked it, but honestly, this show is just not that recommendable. It's very middle of the road, sort of boring in my opinion. There's not a lot going on. It's not that interesting. The characters are the same sorts of characters you've seen in a ton of anime before. To the extent that, like, I'm gonna throw an image up here on Twitch. That's pretty funny. The main character of this anime is literally the main character from Noragami.
Yato, yeah.
He is identical to Yato. His hair, same length. It's literally parsed in the middle of his forehead the same way. His eyes are the exact same color. His face is the same color and shape, pretty much. He wears... they don't wear the same clothing because Yato's got like a crappy jumpsuit on because he's like a poor
He's trying his best. He just got out of luck.
But yeah, they're the same fucking character. So I'm just gonna leave that up for a minute. So honestly, yeah, I wouldn't recommend this. It's unbelievably forgettable in my opinion. Like I don't know why I would recommend it. Normally you recommend things because you hear someone likes something and you know of another anime that's similar, or they are looking for something specific and you know of an anime that fits the bill and is exemplary in some particular form or fashion. This is none of those, so no, I would not recommend this.
Caroline, what do you got? You said you were so excited to talk about this show.
She's ready to bring the thunder.
Like, I'll echo everything that Mitzi has said. Really, it felt like I wasted 12 episode watch times doing nothing. Like, I don't know what this anime was working towards. There is plot, but I did not know what they were working towards. And by the end, I'm like, what happened? Like, nothing happened. Like, this is the most slice of life action show I've ever seen. So, and by that point, it's like, there really isn't anything here that they're doing better than any other show out there, than any other vampire show or any other anime. It's like, the characters are not great. I honestly find Vanitas to be one of the most annoying characters that I've seen in the last few shows that we watched. You know, I guess some of the fighting is okay, but there was nothing to write home about. And it's just not very good. I don't like it. Honestly, I just had to listen to what other shows were passed up for this to be passed during the listener choice. And really, it all came down to the fact that last summer was not a great season.
I'm gonna look that
anime,
up for you.
Unfortunately. So yeah, I can't say I can recommend this. I'm not entirely sure what could be recommendable.
So, but real quick, just to follow up on your point here, the shows that were passed up. Let me see, Vanitas. There it is. The shows.
So harsh.
Sorry.
The shows that almost got passed from that season that did not were Kanojo Mo Kanojo.
Girlfriend.
I'm just gonna you guys can just weigh in
The translation.
Another little harem show.
you guys can just make a grunt or like a happy noise if you think it's good or bad. Kanojo Mo Kanojo. No.
I don't really know much about that one.
I guarantee you would have disliked that one more.
I'm waiting for the grunts or whatever. Jahi-sama was close. Peach Boy Riverside was close. Uramichi Oni-san was close. I don't know what the fuck that is.
Wasn't that the
Otome
one where you
Game.
were like, Caroline, this is not funny.
It was no, I didn't think it was not funny. I thought it was
What's the
pretty.
not funny one? What's, you
Oh,
were like,
no, that was the vampire show. That was the other vampire show.
The one
from
is already
last
dead.
season.
That one.
No. That was not like I'm talking about the comedy that was not funny. Like like pure comedy. That one was the vampire dies in no time.
Yeah,
Which
the death one.
Yeah. This one was slightly better, but not by a very close margin.
My opinion is that there
Or
wasn't
another-
really a lot. I mean, it was probably the right pick. I mean, there's not like a lot of. There's not like some show that I'm looking at here that's like clearly awesome that wasn't selected. Is what I see. So. Yeah. Anyway.
Gotcha. Yeah, the
Mason?
vampire dies, but it was from the season. Yeah. So this whole week in the Discord, Mitz and Caroline are just being like, "Oh, Vanita's so dumb." So I'm like, guys, like it's not that bad. Like, it's slick, it's stylish, it's bursting with Victorian vampires. Like, what more do you want? Like, if you're a fan of Moriarty the Patriot, Bungo Stray Dogs, or Noragami, like you'll find familiar elements in this story that you can enjoy. Would I recommend it? Not really. What I would do is wait for season 2, which comes out right around the corner. It's like 20 days from now in winter of 2022, because there might be some potential in the show. But as my co-host kind of alluded to, it kind of pointlessly toils away for the time being. Like, you finish watching 12 hours, or 12 episodes of the show, and really nothing happened. It just feels like they're setting up a board game. Like, they're getting pieces ready, they're talking to other factions, but nothing's really started yet. Like, we're just in the, like, early game, and I have no idea if there's going to be any payoff at all. I don't know if it's anything interesting going on, but it does look fantastic. It's a very good adaptation. Like, if I was a fan of this manga, I feel like I would be so thrilled, because Bones did a really good job. It looks good, it sounds good, but from a writing component and a character component and a world building component, it's kind of just lukewarm for the time being. And there's just not a lot to sink your teeth into, which is ironic given that it's a vampire show, which I do think they did the vampire elements well. So for right now, I would put it like on hold and wait to see if people are like, oh, season 2, actually things happen. But for now, like, it's competent. So if you want something fun, if you like the chibi joke style of like FMAB, that like comes off really well with some people, really poorly with others. So if any of the shows I just listed are like, yeah, I'm big fans of those shows, check this out. If not, just wait. So there's my middle of the road answer to that question. But it's not that bad. It's not that bad.
Spoilers?
I'm honestly surprised how much, or how you are defending this show. I did not think
we can't
you
have
would like
all
this.
three of us be like pooping
Yeah,
on it.
he's right. All right, here come.
There's
here
a
come
lot
the,
the show does well.
Here come the spoilers.
Spoilers are coming. Oh my god!
I will say
Alright.
the opening is good.
The opening little
It's a good song. Yeah, it's a good song. I
I just
mean,
have-
The opening visuals do not match what happens in the show at all, though.
I mean, the
Like,
opening
they're not
visuals
spinning around in the fountain or
it's
at
just
any point
Noe
in the show.
or no having a bunch of fun, like exploring Paris. Like
I mean,
that's it.
I don't disagree, but like I have a hard time. I don't really consider the OP like when I'm giving when I'm reviewing a show, because like it's not like they made the show. It's not like the people who made the show made the OP. It's just like they just paid some guy to like license his song, slapped it over or something.
Yeah.
But I agree, the song is not horrible. So my biggest problem with this show are the characters. Honestly, they're too silly. First of all, it's a pretty serious show.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, vampires have become cursed and they're killing people, and I don't know. Honestly, I didn't pay that much attention to some of the plot line, because it's just like I didn't really feel like there was much of one, honestly. But like the characters are very goofy. It's like, as Mason explained, the sort of like chibi slapstick comedy moments, they just don't land for me at all. Noe and Vanitas are.
I feel like they're the same character. Almost.
They're very silly,
Like,
and I feel like they're inches.
they have these similar switches between goofiness and angsty seriousness from both of them. I mean, Vanitas from more than Noe, but like I honestly could not really pinpoint a main difference between them, except for Vanitas being even more angsty.
So I don't think, Caroline, that you're going far enough. I think every character in the show is built from the exact same blueprint. Everyone is an eccentric, bumbling expert. Like every character is silly, but really good at what they do, but also like makes mistakes, but also just like he's at it. Like it's very much. Who is the paladin that they meet down in like the wells with the blonde goofy
Roland?
Hair? Yeah,
Yeah,
Roland,
I know,
Jean, like Dominique. Like
His name.
every character is just like really good at what they do, but also just kind of like, I make mistakes, haha, and like it just makes them all so samey.
Yeah, and then they have the same reaction faces and all that. Like, but can I shit on Vanitas more?
Yeah.
So of course
Oh,
he'll
boy.
do that. He'll do that, and then it's like he laughs constantly. He's like so serious. You know, you got the face on. You'd be like, then they'll go off like that, and he does that like literally every 5 minutes, and I can't stand it. I can't stand it. I'm sorry.
I just thought he was a more driven version of Yato, as Mitsugi said. And
He's Yato, basically. I mean, it's just, they're too silly for the tone of the show. The show's like, oh, curse bearers, and people are getting killed, and we're gonna hunt these curse bearers down, and then they just like break up those moments with like these like just complete goofiness, and to me it doesn't work very well. And I'm turned off by them, not only because they act the way they do, but also because I don't like the way they dress. I guess this is like
it's
Victorian
dumb.
era, maybe. Is this Victorian? But like,
So Noe just looks like Kaito from Detective Conan on like Summer Vacation. If you've ever watched that show, like with the white top hat and like the white like suit type thing, it
I thought he
kind of
looked
like unnerves me.
okay.
and
Vanitas just looks like a dork.
Vanitas is dressed like a
What
cupcake.
shade? I love
He's,
it.
he's dressed like
Sorry, I
he-
hate this guy.
He's dressed like a cupcake with icing piled high, and then like really elaborate like chocolate shavings like all over it. Because he's just like, he's covered
That's
in
a
like.
weird comparison.
Well,
but
think.
okay.
I mean, he's just like his whole outfit is nothing but frill. And
Yeah, it is
And
a
that
lot of
cool
frill.
hourglass necklace that will probably have some meaning
And all
someday.
the earrings, like
Yeah.
wow,
Or
so
earring, that's what I meant.
cool.
so cool, and some of the characters in this show, Roland and the girl has a really cliche name. Is it like Jeanne
Dominique?
d'Arc or
Oh,
something?
Gian?
Jean, I think she's supposed to be Jeanne d'Arc or something.
What about Domi, which is definitely just short for dominatrix at the beginning?
They
She
have
like shows up with like a whip, and I'm like, okay, that's clear.
Roland and Jeanne d'Arc or whatever. They have very, very weird light-colored eyes that just really throw me off, and I don't like this. But this like bushy eyelash trend is starting to like spread through anime, and it looks fucking horrendous. You need this. It needs to be stopped. It's like an illness that's spreading from person to person. This like, what character had eyelashes? Is it Noe? I can't
ReZero
remember.
There's no
witch?
way.
Yeah, the ReZero Witch of Greed or whatever, the stupid witch lady, her eyelashes have spread from her to another character we had recently that I can't recall who it was, but it was annoying then, to the character in this show, and it looks awful. It is just terrible. Like for anime that's supposed to be like, oh, everyone has to look pretty and very like refined and like, rarely has facial hair, and we got to take the nets out of Haikyuu so we can see their pretty boy faces. Giving the characters like bushy ass, you need to get your ass to like an eyebrow threader right the fuck now. Eyelashes
eyelashes, yeah.
Yeah, get that shit taken care of because you look horrendous. You look like
It looks weird.
You look like you just crawl. You look like you need to be wearing like a plaid shirt, and that you just crawled out of like the brush with an axe because you're a fucking lumberjack. Those eyelashes are awful. I rant over, but holy fuck, like Jesus, it's killing me. Oh, you know what? Fuck it.
I mean,
Jesus Christ.
There.
and also with Jian, I'm not. I think that's how you're supposed to pronounce it.
Jeanne d'Arc.
I don't think I did not catch like any comparison between her and Joan of Arc though.
But wasn't
Her
she
name's
like?
Jian?
But in
and
her
that's
introduction,
Joan.
wasn't she like a warrior called Jean that was like on
The
a pile
Hellfire
of
Witch.
Yeah, the Hellfire Witch.
I
I
think
don't think
she's
that there's.
supposed to be.
I don't think they're making a comparison, but I don't know.
No, that's what I
could
kind
be
of
wrong.
assumed. I mean, why else would you intentionally
but,
name your character
she's
Jean?
She's supposed to be this like badass killer of like 10,000 vampires, whatever. And she's like, I'm just a girl, and I want Vanitas to stop falling in love with me, but I'm gonna fall in love with him. Oh no, I like to eat things. Nom, nom, nom. I'm like, oh God. Don't make her up to be some sort of killer of 10,000 people and then make her this. It's just so. I don't like. It's just. I'm sorry. I did not like this.
They're all the same.
So this anime is good sometimes. So it's good when they're having action scenes. That's how I felt. So the action scene in the beginning with Jean, I guess I'll just settle on Jean, even though it's French, so it probably is said the other way. Jean was a good action scene. Roland was a pretty good action scene. The scene in the at the ball or whatever, where people were all turning into curse bears, that was a pretty good. That was a pretty good scene. But there's a lot of like not just like time spent where I was generally disinterested, I would say. But I don't know how you guys feel if you agree with that. But to me, this show is at its best when they're having an action scene. And not, not when they're eating like fucking cake. They do a lot of tea party shit in this. There's a lot of tea parties.
I like the look of the show. Like, unsurprising of Bones, they are really good with their choreography, and that's why their action scenes hold up well. But just the city itself, like when they were going around on their date, as cringy as it was, as rough as it was, watching this like pseudo relationship form, and you're like, oh my goodness, like it did look good, and I like the confidence of the show to make their pretty boys look stupid. Because I started this up, I'm like, oh, it's vampires, they're so gorgeous, they're gonna be just cute, I don't know, romance, obviously very homosexual, like tensions at play here, and I was like, this is all it's gonna lead towards.
There's a lot of sexual tension in this show,
which I really like. Sure. I really like it, but obviously I see this at the beginning, and they start like this big fight between Noe and Vanitas at the very beginning, and Noe is like holding this poor woman who's like coughing and having a rough time as Vanitas like mercilessly attacks them, and you're like, oh no, what's going on? Like, this is so like intense. And he like falls backwards and he like tosses the woman up in the air, and Vanitas like looks up and has like the stupidest face ever. And I like that the show was willing to make their characters, and this is before we know that they're all goofballs, but they have these very smoldering, sexy characters look dumb a lot of times, and I enjoy the confidence to have that happen. So yes, they did mess up a ton of consistencies of like, you know, a cat is sitting on the floor here, and then the next shot, like a table leg should be in view, but it's not. Like, they did mess up some things like that, but I'm not going to mess up the shadow direction of this show. Like, it was fine.
One episode I kind of enjoyed was the backstory for Noe. Like, at least compared to the other episodes, I thought that was interesting. And, yeah, I mean, kind of a little bit dark, too, considering that they show a small child's head being ripped off his shoulders. So that was that was interesting. And, yeah, I mean, honestly, compared to the other episodes, I thought that was the best one for me.
I think the problem is, while I did like some of the comedy, it is all the same type of comedy for the entire
Yeah.
show, which is all subversion, which I liked at the beginning, because, like, the end of episode 1, Vanitas proves, hey, I'm kind of a good guy, and Noe is like, yeah, you're kind of cool. And they set Noe up to be the sidekick, to follow him down and be like, oh, you love what I do? You're great. You want to be my sidekick? And he's like, no, why would I want to do that? Like, normally in anime, he would already be the sidekick. Like, they do a bunch of, like I said, subversions of what normally happens, which I enjoy, but they make that the crux of every single joke. And the comedy uses the same formula of misunderstandings too.
Yeah.
And it just got old, but...
You come to expect the subversion, which is the whole point
Exactly.
of subversion. Although I did think that, sometimes they just made it dumb with how Noe and Vanitas kind of, chase after each other, and one would usually be like, I don't want you around, go away. And he's like, no, I want to be around you. And
So
they will
annoying.
go back and forth on that. Because initially, Noe's like, no, go away, Vanitas. I don't, in the first episode, I don't want to follow you around or anything like that. And yet, Vanitas has the book that he is looking for. So why wouldn't you want to at least talk to him more? That makes absolutely no sense. And then it switches, and then it switches again, and then it switches again. It's like, okay,
God.
I'm tired. Just do what you gotta do. Go off, be sidekick and hero, whatever.
It was sweet, though, when he's like, quit following me. He's like, I'm not following you, I'm joining you. Like, that was kind of nice.
You know what I'm tired of? This is a pretty mature show. It's rated R, by the way. Don't know why, really, but that's
Because
the
the child's head gets ripped off his shoulders?
Yeah, okay. So perfect example. It's a mature show. You know what I'm tired of is all of this pussyfooting around all the BL sexual tension. Just fuck already. Honestly, episode 10 was called number 69, and I thought for sure they were just gonna have sex because
No, you did not think that.
I knew they wouldn't, but it's not every fucking anime to just give the people what they want already. Just why does it have to have why do Noe and Vanitas have to secretly want to fuck each other? Why does Vanitas want to he doesn't really want to fuck Jean. Jean wants to fuck him, but he's just going to use her basically because he wants to have sex with Noe. So fuck Noe, literally, and just get it out because I'm so tired of these shows where it's tee-hee, we're going to rip people's heads off and it's clearly an adult anime, but when it comes to the sex, we can't actually be adults. We just have to dance around it. Just do it already. For fuck's sake, just at least kiss so we can just get the sexual tension out. It drives me fucking nuts.
I will
It's
say
so
it was
annoying.
more steamy and blushy and romantic than I was expecting. Which
They love
fit
the blushes.
vampires
God.
ethos. It was sucking his blood as Vanitas is curling up in agonizing pleasure with his hands gripping the fabrics and stuff. It was kind of sultry, even
God.
if it was kind of coming from juvenile acting characters. And there was a bit of whiplash and being these guys were joking around half a second ago, and now they're orgasming in pleasure over this biting thing. So I get what they're leading
Jesus
towards, and I feel the show did do more with vampires than most shows do. I feel most shows, they're oh, they're vampires, you know everything about them, and they just treat them as boring fill-in characters. I feel the show really did dig into what it means to be a vampire and did something. They added something to the table, even if it wasn't great.
God, it's such pandering. It's we're gonna clearly just tell you these characters want to have sex, but we can't actually have them have sex because then your fantasy that you could be with one of them is dispelled, or it enters some unspoken not taboo realm that we can't go to. Why? Just do it. You want to do it. It's not a romance novel. It's not Twilight where they just dance around it. And even I think Twilight gets there. But it's no, they never will because this is anime. Just fucking have sex already. Make an OVA and just call it I don't know. Instead of having them suck each other's blood, I'm doing my little head move, but we all know what sucking each other's blood is an allegory for.
Suggestive
Their
eyebrow
dick.
raise.
That's what they're really sucking on. It's just so insufferable, honestly. Oh my god. And then and as you said, Jean, she's this cool, strong female character that was feared, and then 3 episodes later, she's oh my god, a man. Now I'm this quivering nothing, and I'm my whole character is centered around nothing but the fact that I love Vanitas, and that's all I can do. and now I'm useless. That's what they
Let
did
me
to her.
eat this crepe.
Yeah, let me eat my
Yeah,
14th
but she was
slice of
so
like pudding.
cute eating that crepe. Let's be honest.
I'm gonna eat my 19th
Yeah, she's cute,
flan.
But yeah,
it's
I
like
wish
they
they
can't,
did more with
God.
they
her.
can't choose what they want this to be. Do they want it to be this angsty, serious show? Do they want this to
Oh my
be a
God.
mind-numbing comedy that isn't all that funny?
And by the way, I felt the exact same way about like Banana Fish. Just that show was so adult. Just make it happen for the viewer. I mean, honestly, it's got to be so frustrating. Why do people enjoy being frustrated? Is that like a thing? It's like, oh, I really want to see these two characters like make out, but they never will, and I know this. But I'm gonna torment myself anyway for the whole run of the series. Is that
I
like a
can't tell
thing?
ya.
I don't get it.
I
Like, is
do
that
not know.
enjoyable? God in heaven. You know, this show makes me want to go record a hentai episode. And I didn't feel like that until 5 minutes ago.
What?
Show
That's not
there's so
even
much
funny.
sexual tension. Mitsuki's even feeling it.
But-
That's a
but-
boom.
but
listen,
listen.
You know the fan art out there. The fan artists are just
Oh, I
licking their
can't-
lips with a show like this. They're just like, my chops are wet.
Yeah.
And we're
Yeah.
ready to dig in.
Well, it's a good thing that they don't have sex because it would take more runtime than this show has to remove all the clothing that Vanitas is wearing. That guy has got like 17 layers of ribbons and fucking clothing on.
Like Johnny Depp, just rings for days.
I'm going to Google Vanitas no cart hentai right now. I'm not even going to do an incognito search because I'm just a badass like that. And I'm going to and we're going to see what kind of hentai comes up because Jean, for example, is plenty attractive. And there's lots of like sexual scenes with her like licking blood off people's necks and shit. But I guarantee it's all going to be mostly Vanitas and Noe. And that's where people will go to get like, you know, to get the poison out because you're not going to get it out watching the show. Anyway,
Do we want to talk about Caroline? Do you have any closing comments before we get to our
sorry,
final scores?
I kind of hijacked
I feel
that.
like I pretty much said it all.
Okay. Do you want to give your score then while Mitz delves into the dangers of the universe?
There's really not that much hentai.
Sure. So I think it's no lie that I disliked the
Bye,
show.
bye.
Bye.
It's just you can't get away from it.
If only I was good at freestyling, then I could probably sing about this show. But yeah, it's just I just did not see anything of worth, really. I mean, I can't say that it was like, you know, offensive or like super bad. It just felt like a waste of time to me. So unfortunately, that means I'm just gonna have to give this show honestly, it's actually probably pretty generous. 1.5
Jeez.
several layers of clothing out of 5.
I didn't think it was that bad. You'd be surprised, but there's actually like a pretty small amount of hentai online for this. That was actually a very disappointing path I just went down.
Maybe type in Noe X Vanitas.
Yeah, I wouldn't put in hentai. I think that puts a different spin on things. But
I wanted to give like
I'm not going to tell you how to live your life.
I wanted to give like a neutral approach to the search. I didn't want to like guide it by giving too much. Anyway, the bottom line is that like this show is just like it doesn't have a lot of substance to it. It's mostly driven by the characters, and the characters aren't. They're going to be either appealing or unappealing depending on the person. And I'm guessing our listeners like this show because they picked it. But to me, it just it doesn't hit the right mark. It's just too many different like feelings and tones all coming together in the show. It's too serious and it's goofy, then it's sexual, then it's serious, then it's goofy, then it's sexual, and it just doesn't work. And Roland was definitely not a good addition to this anime. I don't know, like he's a great example. He's like, I am dead serious about my job. I'm Roland and I fucking kill vampires, and you're a vampire and you're in my catacombs, so you must die right now. And then the next episode, he's like rolling around on the ground like
Best friends.
like Teehee, he's my best friend. I'm gonna hug him, and you know, it's questioning everything I know about my life because I saw a vampire and a human like laughing together.
Laughing. I'm like, oh my god, that
And
was
all of a
so
sudden-
dumb. I totally forgot about that.
So there goes your seriousness there, and that's just a microcosm of the whole show. I feel like Roland was, besides looking like a total weirdo, he looks very bizarre. His head looks like a buttered like dinner roll. He's like his like hair is like butter yellow, and his eyes are like eerily light green, and he just looks terrible. Man, I feel like we just shit all over this anime pretty much, but like,
Sorry to anybody who liked this.
yeah, I mean, and I'm not really all that shocked about the sexual tension stuff. It's just, it becomes a little annoying. When you see it in like every fourth anime, I don't know. The show is not the worst thing on earth. I just don't think anybody really. I'm not sure who the audience is. It's got to be mostly women. I think it's got to be an anime for mostly women. I'm just presuming that, but I feel like it has that tone to it. I'm gonna give it 2.5 real names out of 5, because that's what he does. He like fixes your real name and takes your curse away or whatever.
There you go. Yeah, so this show kind of reminded me of Shadow's House in a way, where like it had an excellent production and it conveys the atmosphere and the world of the source material, but there's something in the water between like the aimless airy arc resolutions, the contrived melodrama, or just that it takes a while for Jun Mochizuki's works to like get to any interesting ideas, if at all. Like, so many talented people worked on this. We didn't even talk about Yuki Kaijura doing the music, which is always a treat. Like,
I didn't think the Muji music was that good, was it?
It was fitting. It wasn't like mind blowing, but it was. I thought it fit fine. I like the use of vampires. I didn't think they leaned on it in a lazy way like a lot of shows did, but they built off of it without feeling too cliche. Like, many of the characters and the way they bounce off one another was entertaining, but they were all just so similar. I just kind of still enjoyed my time with the show. I had originally given it a 3 out of 5. Like, you guys raised some good points. I feel like I could be brought down to a 2.5. I think a lot of my opinions will come down to the second season and if it delivers any sort of payoff at all. But yeah, I mean, I just enjoyed my time with this more than I was like dissatisfied with it. I didn't find anything like so forgettable. It just kind of faded into one collective blob, but I guess that blob didn't taste all that bad. So I would say I hope season 2 delivers a more satisfying bite, and I'll give it 3 sexual tension bites in the neck with thrusting blushes out of 5.
Rusting blushes.
Thrusting blushes.
I feel a little bad because I feel like at least I didn't like even really review the show. I just bitched about it, but I don't know. It's one of those weird things where like you watch the whole show, it's 4 hours long, and I just don't have that much to say about it. I don't know. I feel like what the show did in the first 3 episodes was the same as what it did the next 9 episodes. It was really not that different.
And it's one of those shows like at the very beginning it gives you all these spoilers of the future, like I'm gonna kill him in the future.
This is how I killed him.
And exactly.
Like,
and it just like we
okay,
made no
dial it
step
back.
towards like, oh, I'm guessing he's just gonna be mind controlled and that's what's gonna happen. Like he got cursed and now when he snaps his fingers he's gonna have to do it. And like I
no,
you've
it's
seen
probably
these
just
plot
going to
points
be
before.
an accident.
It's going to be another subversion.
It's
and
not
that's
even
how they're
his
gonna
fault,
get
but he
us.
thinks it is.
And I'm expecting season 2 to once again not really offer a ton, and I will come back and lower my score to a 2.5. But for now, I would say the show I enjoyed it more than I didn't. So there you go.
I kind of think anime studios sometimes need to be more willing to cancel anime. Like you rarely ever hear about like some show that came out. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Like Netflix seems like, oh, I'll just pull the plug on you because no one watched it, and it's like Vanitas no Cart. You know, and there are better examples of this, but like, does it really deserve a second season? I mean,
I don't know.
If no one gives a fuck about the first season, and clearly they do, because it has an 8 on Mao and has almost 300,000 people marked that have watched it, which is a pretty high number on here. But if like a show is just not good and no one watches it, does it deserve another season anyway? I don't know. I think there's a lot of anime
if it'll sell manga, if it's a good advertisement, which I think it is. I think if you're a fan of this manga, I would be thrilled with this adaptation.
Probably, yeah. And the manga does have good reception, and yeah, I'm not really. It's been running for a while, so there could be this could go on for a while. I mean, the manga's been running for quite a while, so. All right. Well, I don't know what that rounds to. Not a very good score. Probably like a 2 1.5, maybe 2-ish.
Let's see. This sum is a 7, average is a 2.333333. Repeating.
So we have
2.5.
We have some shows here coming up. I'm going to clean out our log here, but there's only a few shows left from the summer season that we haven't reviewed yet. Boku Tachi no Remake is one of those anime.
Oh my goodness.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Not a good
goodness.
one?
I'm not looking forward to that one.
Pancake has flagged that as one she would like to review. I don't know why. That was a listener choice pick. Shiroi Suna no Aquatrope is another one of these that we have left.
Aquatrope.
And Genjitsu Shugi Yusha no Okoku. That's like the realist. That's the one I picked, the realist.
Yep, we'll do that next week.
And then we'll be done with fall, and we'll be into the and then we'll be done with summer, and we'll be into the fall. But yeah, I guess I need to put our winter shows up here. I guess we haven't gotten to winter yet.
No, we haven't picked them yet.
All right. Well,
Right
guys,
around the corner.
that
Exciting.
is our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I thought it was a good show. I had a lot of fun, despite feeling like I had to sneeze or cough every 5 seconds. So I apologize for that. If you want to check us out on social media, AAA Podcast is the podcast Twitter. Mason is at Macy Pacey, spelled with C's. So get over there and follow Mason. I'm sure he's got some insightful things to say about shows he's watching.
I'll post a picture of my Pui Pui molcar painting that I got. So check that out.
Facebook.com, we're on there. So check us out on Facebook. Also TikTok. So you can search Anime Addicts Anonymous Pod on TikTok if you want to find us on TikTok. It'd be nice if you'd follow and give Caroline
that 100th follower.
Give Caroline a little boost, of excitement when she gets more followers. And honestly, the Discord is a great place to be because we do solicit a lot of feedback on the Discord. People give us ideas. They recommend guests. They recommend topics. They talk with each other about shows they're watching. There's Anime Club. There's all sorts of stuff on there. So head over to the Discord. I honestly think that Discord is also just so great as a way to communicate with people. So I would absolutely check that out. And again, if you want to help out the podcast, I wouldn't ask if we didn't need support. So aaapodcast.com/join or patreon.com is the place to go. And we do our best to reward you. We do record, an extra 4 hours or so of content for you every month, just for you. So head over there and support us. And also, please subscribe on iTunes and leave a 5-star review if you wouldn't mind. It's always appreciated on helping us be competitive on Apple Podcasts, which is where a lot of people listen. Next week, how a realist hero rebuilt the kingdom. It's a Mitsuki joint, so I will take full responsibility if it's not good. And we'll see you guys next week.
Have a good one, everyone.
Love you
Thanks for
guys.
hanging out.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.